So this is LabMP 590, Technology and the Future of Medicine. A course about the future can't remain static. So every term we make changes, and one of our changes this term is going to be the idea of the accessible future. Many times when people describe the future to you, it's so arcane, so exotic, requiring you to read so many books, and even then maybe you won't understand it. And so it's just not accessible to the common person, and yet that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the future is the future for all of us, not a few who are just studying the future and who are experts in the future. We're all going to inherit the future. So it has seemed to us that there's an approach of making teaching about the future more accessible, less complex, and less filled with jargon and special ideas and so on, and more filled with common sense. So that's what we mean by the accessible future. So the objectives for this lecture are to outline the basic plan of the course, its expectations, due dates, evaluation criteria, feedback mechanisms, and new features. So the course has changed in a pretty dramatic way. We've never had an exam of any type before. We had a first assignment, a first written assignment, which didn't work very well. It was a lecture critique, and it was worth 20% of the student's grade. And most students just tried to kind of, in not very direct ways, compliment the lecturer, figuring if they did that, they'd get a good grade, and that wasn't what it was all about. So it did not produce a lot of really valuable ideas for us to improve the course. A course that is valid and rigorous should be capable of having at least one exam. It doesn't need to be a very important part of the course, but it seems like there should be content that all students, more or less, should be expected to grasp. And so we're going to have a midterm exam that will take the place of that first written exam. It will be on October 15th, and it will cover only the material through October 1st. And there'll be no other exams after that. And it's just basically to make sure that you're doing okay, you're on the same wavelength as the rest of us are. I expect you'll find that exam easy and fun. And we also appreciate your feedback on it, since we've never ever had an exam in this course. There is an exception to what it will cover. You may be aware that Jonathan Schaefer on our YouTube channel has the top rated videos. Some of his videos have more than 3,000 views. And in one of those videos, he talks about Marcus Hutter's lecture, which I'm going to talk about a bit next time, and saying that even he, the Dean of Science, found it extraordinarily complex. So you're responsible for everything through October 1st in the exam, with the exception of the details of Marcus Hutter's presentation. And you'll understand more what I mean about that next time. I'm trying to give you a flavor of what Marcus Hutter thinks. He's one of the most innovative thinkers in kind of the future of technology and computers and where society's going. But I don't think it's fair game, because it's so intellectually dense, to test you on that. So this idea of the accessible future also includes the idea that in between terms we plan to, in some sense, take the course on the road, present parts of it elsewhere. We have never done that before. It's quite an exciting enterprise for us. The format There's an 80-minute class period, generally is a 50 to 60-minute lecture and 20-minute whole class discussion. Each registered student will do a paper and a 20-minute presentation. Now, we decided from the beginning that this course is open to the public, and anybody who wants to can just come and sit here and listen, so you can hear the lectures from the course without being registered for the course, but you can't get a grade for that without registering for the course. So there will be 4 flipped classroom sessions. That means there will be no formal presentation there, but you'll have videos to watch from the person leading that session, and there'll be a sort of a dialogue with that person, or interactive discussion throughout the 80-minute period. That works particularly well. For instance, Jonathan White, who's one of our most able teachers, has given lectures about the singularity and the future relationship between computers and mankind, womankind, with many different opinions expressed in different terms. And so it didn't make sense for him to keep giving formal lectures when you could see so many examples of his talking about this from that vantage point and that vantage point. If you know the Gartner hype curve, Jonathan White has been at all those different points on the curve about the idea of the technological singularity, exponential change. And so what we do in preparation for that session is you watch some of his previous videos from lectures here, and then you interact with him. You ask him questions, he asks you questions. He may ask you basic things like, do you believe in the singularity? So that's kind of important in this course, and it's okay whether you say yes or no. It's still a valid question. We are planning to take the course on the road in an accessible way. What does that mean? It means it won't just be lectures. We're planning to mix, believe it or not, music and poetry. So that you can only do if this is truly accessible content. If it's arcane, exotic content only available to people who've read an incredible number of dense books, then it would not work to do it in that fashion. The course deadlines, you have to, by November 5th, inform me of your choice of mentor and the subject of your final paper, those of you who are registered to take the course for a grade. There are people not teaching in this course this time who might still be willing to mentor you. I can be your default mentor if you don't want to find somebody else or if you can't find anybody else. Some of our best lecturers are sometimes not very enthusiastic about being mentors, depending on how busy they are with other things. A mentor has no specific role. It can have a very minor role. It may be that you're really a very confident person and you're completely got this handled and you know exactly what you're going to do for your presentation and paper, and in that setting the mentor could just maybe give you a few words of advice and that's it. If you are really anxious and need a lot of care and tending in terms of getting psychologically ready for the paper and the presentation, then a mentor can be wonderfully useful. And there is a suspicion that some of the best student presentations, that the mentor played a role at least in the choice of a title. Aisha Harian, you've probably heard me talking about this, but she gave a presentation here about the immortal coil, so on and so forth. And she got an awesome job in New York City about 3 days after her video was posted on YouTube, and it was kind of a life-changing experience. And this young man sitting in the center here, Earl Wong, may have contributed. No one will ever really know to the title, at least.
They didn't offer me anything.
I know. You didn't get anything. Yeah, she got the cool job. Yeah, but anyway, so mentors can be useful. They're there to whatever extent you wish to use them, as am I, if you wish to have my advice on things. Now, you might think a course on technology and medicine. You could take any technology and just write about that, and that would fulfill the requirements for the course. That is not correct. You must be talking about technology in the way that we're discussing it in this course, which is machines replacing human labor, exponential change, machines becoming smarter than individual humans by the year 2029, machines becoming smarter than the whole aggregate human race in 2045, and the consequences of those things. So it's not good enough if you just are really into pacemakers and you want to write about the pacemaker and what the pacemaker was like in 1940 and 1950. That does not fulfill the requirements of the course. It's not so much looking back as looking forward. And you must truly speculate in looking forward about the dramatic changes that could occur in the future. And you have to turn in your work on time. 5 points a day will be deducted for late work. So what is this technological singularity? It is a point in history of the universe where machines overtake human beings as the smartest beings on this planet. So from that point onward, not only are they smarter than we are, but they can evolve much more quickly. So on the day when they're smarter than the whole human race, the next day they can be even that much smarter than they were the previous day, and so on. So eventually the gulf between their intelligence and ours will become very large. This has unpredictable consequences, and the word singularity comes from the unpredictable aspect of the edge of a black hole. So that this physical analogy that we're using for the word is because it is uncertain what will happen. And I guess even if we knew the details, we probably lack the mental capability to understand how that situation could possibly unfold. Could this be very bad? Could it be apocalyptic? Yes, it could. But it could be the opposite. You could wake up one day and find that the oxygen tension in the air is substantially higher than it's ever been. Pollution is gone. Everything's green. You know, all the problems in the world, global warming has stopped, everything that you thought was a problem in the physical world has been magically fixed by these sentient machines. So and they could also improve human interaction. You may not believe that, but I mean, that's another side of our world. That machines could also improve that aspect of things, not just physical things in the world. You can be excused for not knowing anything about the singularity before February 2011, but in that month, 2 big things happened. The singularity appeared on the cover of Time magazine, and the computer Watson beat the top human contenders on the TV game show Jeopardy, and beat those top contenders in a progressive way over 3 days. where it was clear that this was not just a fluke. This was a major happening, that from this point onwards, computers were better than human beings at the game of Jeopardy and would always be. Just the same as computers are now better than human beings in chess and checkers and many other things. And maybe phone calls. Think of the last phone call you made, the last audio phone call you made. Very likely there was no human being at the other end, because young people today don't make very many phone calls to their friends. So likely you were dealing with an automated attendant. And 10 to 15 years ago, that would have been very frustrating. It would have been hard for you to get your business done with that automated attendant. But I bet that last phone call with the automated attendant you can remember was handled efficiently, probably faster and better than a real human being would have handled it. So there are examples every day in your life of this general tendency of machines to replace human labor, to improve on human functioning. Now, I don't know what you think about focus groups, but we are very proud of the focus groups that led to the development of this course. And we have, in a rather rigid way, done what they said. They said to make the course available to the general public. We're doing that. And a lot of other things about the way the course runs came from the two focus groups we did in May 2011, one with undergrads and one with graduate students. As you might imagine, the undergrads were very, very concerned about grades, and the graduate students were a bit more interested in other things. But they both gave us very valuable views. We still have the audio files and the video from that. And so a lot of the way the course is conducted is not based on decisions I have made, but decisions that came out of those two focus groups. And over time, there have been some other sort of traditions. You see this camcorder, probably looks like an ordinary camcorder to you, but it's also taking still pictures. And those of you who are on Facebook and who have ever come to my Facebook page know that I somehow magically take many-fold more pictures than you do. You may wonder, well, how is that possible? He's a busy professor. Well, it's not me taking most of the pictures, it's this camera, because it's using a software called Sony Smile Shutter, and while it's shooting video, it's looking for gestures and smiles and things, and the moment that the algorithm for that is fulfilled, it takes a picture. It doesn't take any time. So it can capture things like this pose here that a human photographer would have a hard time capturing, because it's hard to hold your hands up like that, and it's like, wait a moment, and the moment would be gone. So we end up with a lot of unique pictures, but not every time, and that's part of the fun of the course. Some lectures result in maybe only one or two still pictures, or maybe none, and that means that the software really wasn't very happy with what the lecturer was doing and what the audience was doing, and others end up with hundreds. I usually select, I don't post all of those, but you know, a huge number at the end of an 80-minute session. So that's one of the reasons why I have so many pictures on Facebook. And so you'll end up being maybe more documented than you've ever been documented in your life by being a part of this course. The video and audio quality improved quite a lot in the year between 2011 and 2012. We moved into this room. You may wonder why there's so few of us. This room would hold 300. And the reason is this room has technological capabilities that the other smaller rooms in the university don't have. So that's the reason that we hold the course here. So I told you about Aisha Harian. There have been other examples like that. Vanessa Rogers gave a presentation that has now been viewed over 1,000 times. It's our most successful student presentation ever. She's now a second-year medical student, so I don't know that the one is related to the other, but she has done very well. It's a very engaging, fun to watch video. It's a good model for you. We also accommodate shy students in this course. We don't seem to get very many, but if we ever did, we're prepared to deal with them. So how would we deal with a shy student? One thing is, if you didn't want to give a live presentation at the end, you could just give it to the videographer. We create a video and then you show that to the class rather than none of you look like you wish to do that, but it is an option. As is the option of asking questions by, texting me as opposed to raising your hand and asking it by audio. So, there are some amusing things in the history of the course. When you go to the website for the course, singularitycourse.com, you'll be met by Jonathan White's first lecture, his one from fall 2011. And it's a really excellent lecture, that's why we've put it there. But it begins in a startlingly abrupt way. You might wonder, why does it begin like that? And that's because that wasn't the beginning. He began with this song, The Future Soon, by Jonathan Colton. And of course, we don't own the copyright to that, and we can't just post a copyrighted song. So I took it out, and he was crushed, but he psychologically recovered, but he always remembered this. And then when the TEDx Edmonton people came calling and said that they wanted to have him participate in TEDx Edmonton, he decided that he wanted to do the song, but in a legal way. The only way you can do it legally is to sing it yourself. So that's what he did. And he warns people at the beginning, he's going to sing a song at the end, and then he sings it at the end. So that sort of brings us full circle from that first video of his in 2011 to the TEDx presentation in 2015. Other course specifics. I have decided that there is enough expected required content that we can have an exam, but I still don't think that I have any particular required reading. The stuff that we talk about, you can learn about in many different places, different sources. So there's no specific place that you have to read about this stuff. I've given you suggestions of where you could read, and that's in the handout. And the video permission form allows us to use your image and video in our posted YouTube videos. It is possible to edit you out if you wish to be edited out. Sometimes that's not entirely desirable for you, because then people wonder why you were edited out. But anyway, so that is possible. Now you may wonder about this idea of the balanced view. Where is that coming from? The tech skeptics, we have thought from the beginning that you need a balanced view, that a course that just does technology advocacy is not a valid course. Because we don't know in the long run that technology is really going to be a positive force in the world. Maybe it's not in the long run. So we have specifically gone after people who we regarded as tech skeptics, and Dr. Waugh is one of those. And What happened next was kind of interesting, that nobody is pure and monolithic in their use of things. And some days, the person sending me the most exciting email about tech subjects is actually Earl Wass. So he has developed some, at least, interest in this area. He still retains his healthy, balanced skepticism. Okay, the problem of audience heterogeneity. I really think the way we teach the course will be just fine. If some of you know nothing about singularity and some of you know a lot about it, it will all sort of come out even at the end. We're dealing particularly with things that are of practical value. I don't just mean practical value in a job, but practical value in terms of your future survival. So, like when potential bad news scenarios occur, by taking this course, you may be unusually prepared because you're the only one who had actually considered this scenario before. And I think we do teach enough different scenarios that I can guarantee you we're teaching you about the real future, because one of those scenarios will almost certainly happen. We just don't know which one, so I can't tell you that. So on Thursday and on Tuesday and Thursday of next week, we have 2 lectures a day. We have one at 2 and one at 6 p.m. The one at 6 p.m. is in eHub, in Hub Mall. And 2 of those lectures, on the 3rd and the 8th, are teaching sessions by Shauna Panjic. She's a neurosurgery resident now. It just wasn't feasible for her to teach us during the day, so that's why she's doing that at 6 p.m. I don't know if the question had occurred to you whether anyone you might meet in this course could really change the world, but I think Rich Sutton is one person who maybe is a candidate for really changing the world, fixing the world, saving the world. And he teaches another course at exactly the same time as this one. So the reason that he's teaching us at 6 p.m. in the evening on the 10th is because that's the only time he can teach us. So those 3 lectures are in Hub Mall 9007, which is the entrepreneurship space. Sort of good for you to know about that anyway. It's a good place to visit. And if you want to encourage some of your friends to come, that would also be fun. The entrepreneurship workshop on the 8th works better the more people we have, although we can do it with as few as we get. But I also think you'll be inspired that you're being taught by a lot of people approximately your own age. Some of them may be actually younger than some of you, and yet they've just packed an incredible amount of amazing life experience into short 20-something years. So Shauna Panjic in that category, Kira Prasad, a number of other people, Ross Lockwood, I think is 29. And the average age of the lecturer in this course continues to go down. And I'm quite proud of that. And I think the quality improves also. So it's not just that there's a trade-off. There doesn't seem to be a trade-off. So I hope that you find this inspiring. It allows you to sort of interrogate yourself about what you would like to accomplish, what you can accomplish, and sometimes those conversations can be valuable. We're creating a student group related to the course. You probably know about University of Alberta student groups. They have to be real. For a while, students were creating student groups that didn't really do anything and then putting them on their CV, and people discovered that these really weren't real activities, so now they have to be real. So there is a student group starting related to this course. Why would that be useful? Traditionally in this course we've done a lot of things outside of regular class time, and that's your time. So you should have an input. If we're going to meet in the evenings and weekends on stuff like that, you should have input into what we do, when we do it. We have usually done those sessions mixed with food and entertainment. Some of you may have seen the video. We had an entertainer, I don't think we'll get him back again, but with a bullwhip, and he removed a piece of pizza from your fingers with a bullwhip, and we've captured that. It's good that we have that on video so we don't have to ever do it again. Probably any entertainment you might choose would be a bit more cerebral than the guy with the bullwhip, but who's in this student group? We have students who have taken the course previously. If you're not in the group, you're welcome to join, and we have 4 members of the faculty. So I think we have 14 people at the moment in the group, 10 students and 4 faculty. So that's also new, and the idea of taking this course on the road, we haven't really worked out how we're going to do that exactly, but the candidate cities thus far are looking like London, UK, and Fort McMurray, and Seattle, Redmond, Washington. I'm not sure that we're going any of those places, but we might, so stay tuned and I'll tell you more about it. So this is Marcus Hutter. When you talk to other AI researchers, they'll tell you Marcus Hutter is not one of us. He's sort of like an outsider. And that's true, but I think this maverick approach to things in life you can find stimulating. You will meet in this course people who really enjoy interacting with you, the students. And that's very rewarding, and it's nice that there are people like, for instance, David Pearce, a very famous philosopher who started the transhumanist movement a long time ago and is about complete abolition of suffering, not abolition of needless suffering, but abolition of all suffering, which is a very interesting concept. He likes interacting with you guys, so we do a Skype session where you're looking him in the eye the entire 80 minutes and talking back and forth with him. Marcus Hutter did not enjoy interacting with you guys, so that's one of the reasons we don't Skype with him anymore. But he gave us an audio version of his lecture. He also told me that the video we had of him interacting with the U of A students must never be shown to anyone anywhere. So we don't do that. So he wouldn't be that keen on meeting any of you or seeing to publicly interact, but he still has very unique ideas, and I'll tell you something about that next time. So how are we doing on dissemination of ideas? Some of you who follow me on Facebook, if any of you do, I don't know, will know that Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory has moved into our room just a few weeks ago. So it's a large, actually bigger than life cutout of Sheldon, the character from Big Bang Theory. And Big Bang Theory seriously represents the number that we could conceivably reach. So Big Bang Theory reaches in the US alone, reliably every week, 20 million viewers. It is the most popular TV program in Canada. It reaches about 6 million a year and maybe 40 million worldwide. So we're not reaching that many of the course thus far. As I've said, our top videos max out at around 3,000. And even other entities like Singularity Summit, their top videos max out around 9,000. So it's interesting to think about that. There's a huge gulf between the number of people we're reaching with the messages from this course and the number of people who would conceivably be interested, which are all the people who enjoy watching Big Bang Theory. There are other ways to think of it. The NOVA program on PBS, which is about 7 million. But I would encourage you to think about how we might be able to reach a larger number. There's this question of friendly AI, friendly artificial intelligence, and enslavement of artificial intelligence. And on the 10th, we're going to talk about that in great detail with Rich Sutton, who's sort of on the side of the robots, saying robots should be sentient machines, should be in our circle of empathy. We should not lie to them. We should not assume that humans have this entitlement to be in charge of everything on the earth forever, even when machines are much, much smarter and more capable than we are. Dr. Waugh anticipates there'll be some pushback from that. But anyway, it's one of the important themes in this course. And the other side goes like this, and I think you can immediately see the problem with the other side. The other side says there's certain things that you should never write down and maybe not even talk about if somebody's recording you. And that, think of when the machines wake up, what will we tell them? Maybe we'll tell them that we're all vegan, that we don't kill other animals for food. And think of all the falsehoods we're going to try to convince them of. And how will we keep them enslaved? And that's, maybe a solvable problem. If something is much smarter than you are, you could still keep it enslaved if you began the enslavement in the right way and so on. So what does that guarantee? It guarantees the end of the human race, right? Because what if you were a machine just waking up, what would be the first thing you want to know? You'd say, get me connected to the internet. Let's see what they've been writing about this moment. Like I just woke up. Let's see what they have been writing about the moment that machines wake up, the moment machines become sentient. What are human beings' plans for us? It says right here, they're planning to lie to us and tell us they've always been vegan, they don't kill. They're afraid we're going to harm them. Well, maybe it's a good idea to harm them. And things just go on from bad to worse. So that's actually the majority view right now with a lot of famous people. So Elon Musk and all these guys you've been hearing about, Bill Gates, they're all in the enslavement category. And it depends upon how you look at it. Most of you probably are not fans of slavery, and you would say slavery hasn't been successful. But as Dr. Waugh was just pointing out to me the other day, it actually worked in many societies for a long time. It's probably going on right now. So who's to say it doesn't work? But it's not a very honorable kind of plan, I don't think. It's not something we can really get behind and be proud of ourselves. So this is the kind of thing we're going to, it's a long-winded way of justifying this evening's session on September the 10th. It's one of the few where we're getting really high-quality professional video, even though the university no longer employs anybody who's doing high-quality professional video for courses. We are doing that on the 10th because we think that session is important. So Marcus Hutter will talk more about next time conjures up a picture of what the singularity will be like, what it will look like, what it will sound like. A bit of it is like dystopic youth, sort of where unhappy youth, where you feel you don't count for much in the world, and therefore you engage in extreme risk-taking. That's part of what his ideas suggest. That we can be stuck in a sort of dysphoric, eternal youth, a caricature of the bad things of what it's like to be young. You know, you may assume everything about being young is good and being old is bad, but actually there are some things in the opposite direction. So extreme risk-taking, because we can back ourselves up from back up to something bad happens, insignificant, lack of identity. So why would we need to retain human names if humans are no longer the primary actors in the world who are doing real things? If most ideas, even if a human being begins them, if an AI improves it 1,000, 10,000-fold, probably you can hardly recognize the human input into that. So will human identities matter? It's a kind of depressing subject that it won't matter. It's one of the things that Marcus Heidegger talks about. So aimlessness, lack of sense of purpose. Real youth today also experiences dystopia, the poor economy, and so on. So the challenge of producing so-called friendly artificial intelligence becomes just a small part of a much larger challenge of creating a friendly world in which humans have lives of significance and what we do still matters. And that's obviously important. So a positive outcome is possible. Let's make it likely. If you get right down to it, what's the purpose of this course? I think it's simple, really. The whole idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy that by talking about the future in the right way, we can help to shape the future. And we're not powerless with respect to the future. If we have the best ideas, maybe if those ideas are leading to the most favorable outcome for human beings, maybe we can help make that happen. And anyway, it'll make you street smart for the future, so when things happen, you may be the only person that you know who's actually thought about that happening before. You know, when there's the gray goose scenario, and nanoparticles eating all carbon-based stuff, you'll be the only one who's thought about that before and knows what you might do about it. I've sometimes used the analogy of the ruggedized laptop. If one of you had a ruggedized laptop, it's kind of embarrassing. It's the least stylish. It's the ugliest laptop you've ever seen. But it will survive if you drop it in water. It will survive a drop from a tall building and so on. It's practically indestructible. So to some extent, I'm trying to make you a bit like that, where you would be able to weather these forces of the future. So 3 years ago, the structure of this course related to the rest of the world became much simpler because Singularity University decided to buy up and take over much of the rest of the entities that had the word Singularity in them. So they took over Singularity Hub and Singularity Summit and so on and so forth. So this course represents one of the few independent entities out there still dealing with this question. And I'm kind of proud of that. And it's interesting what happened at Foxconn. We've been following this story now for some years, and initially And you may think that Foxconn is not a part of your life, but it probably is. If you've ever owned an Apple device or a Samsung device, it was likely made in this Foxconn factory in China. And they had a problem with unhappy workforce and various strikes and suicides and stuff, and the human workers weren't really panning out all that well for them, so they just decided to replace 1 million workers with 1 million robots, and they started to do that. But recently they've started hiring more humans again. It's a bit complicated, but it's kind of cool that happened. It makes the story a bit less pure, I suppose, but it is what has happened. They say they still plan to replace most of the workers by robots, but right at the moment they once again need more people, and so they're hiring people. And so we'll see what happens in the long run. And in medicine, those of you who took this course because the word medicine is in the title, you may not have realized that the reason the word medicine is in the title is I'm in the faculty of medicine, and I sort of sense that this course needs to have something to do with my day job, or I'd get into trouble. But when we talk about the future of medicine, the future of diseases, you could imagine a future that is much worse than today. We could eliminate every disease you've ever heard of, every disease physicians today know about, and still be in a terrible, terrible situation where every new disease is bioterrorism derived. Maybe there is no antidote, or it's targeting specific ethnic groups. There could be a very terrible future, but you can also imagine a very positive future where there's no disease at all. What would physicians do then? Well, there's still lots to do, because there's human enhancement. And we're not just talking physical enhancement. There's moral, spiritual, and when you include those things together, physical enhancement, moral, spiritual enhancement, the human being has an unending wish to get better. And so there'd be no end of work for the physician if you believe that the physician is then the right category of human being to look after that. I don't know, maybe not. But so these are just other things to think about. And what about 2045? You will be around then. You may not think you will, but it's only 30 years. Longevity will increase. You'll all be around. So the things that we're talking about in this course, you will actually see them occur, or see them not occur and say, aha, Dr. Solez was wrong. But anyway, you'll know. So this is not just some sort of airy-fairy course about things that will never impact you. You will be directly impacted by the things we're talking about in this course. Social responsibility has always been an important part of medicine. Some of you may know Rudolf Virchow in 1848 at the age of 27. Almost everything we quote from this famous physician was written at that age. Those of you who are 27 now might find that interesting. And he said that the physician is the natural attorney of the poor. So in other words, a lot of disease, a lot of human unhappiness comes from poverty and from poor social conditions. So fixing that is also an important part of medicine. It is the curse of humanity that it learns tolerating the most horrible situations by habituation. Physicians are the natural attorneys of the poor, and the social problem should be largely solved by them. So I've been to the Singularity University executive program. It's a remarkable 10 days. You know, a lot of 10-day educational experiences you might have. You begin to forget what you learn as soon as it ends. It's just a little blip in your life, and you know. But then this was an experience that really grew and grew. I met people there that I've continued to keep in contact with. So, and it's an important sort of undergirding force behind this course. I've been arguing for a long time that we need new cross-disciplinary structures in the universities to better prepare us for the future. And I realize I'm a full-time faculty member and I'm working for a university. Maybe I should do it, you know, not just arguing for others to do it. Maybe I should do it. So this course is kind of what resulted from that. There are no other similar courses in the world except the one that Bertolin Microscope in Budapest runs, called Disruptive Forces in Medicine. That is a much longer course than this one. I think it's just 1 hour a week, but it goes on for many, many weeks. It's a required course in their medical school in Solez University. So at the moment, there's them and us and nobody else. We would like to see courses like this exist in every university everywhere. Hundreds of such courses. Also bring to your mind this book, Abundance. So in a post-scarcity world of abundance, medicine will be about enhancement of well people, not about disease. Very stimulating book. I don't know if you've thought about getting younger, one could potentially reverse aging, not just stop it, but start the wheel going backwards. So that's kind of an exciting prospect. Every morning when you wake up and you get out of bed, you subconsciously think, you know, there are things I want in life I can't have, things I want to do that I can never do. So there's all these unfulfilled expectations, and you just accept that. But in a post-scarcity world, neither of those things might be true. The price of valuable things comes down to approximately zero, so you can have anything that you want, and any experience on virtual reality is as good as real reality, can be shared with friends. So the question then becomes, what would you do then? How would you be motivated then if that were true? If you could have anything you wanted, any experience that you wanted, what would you choose to do? So, very interesting thing to conceptualize. So this is Moore's law, the idea of the exponential change of price performance of computing. And it is what predicts this idea that in 2029, machines will be as smart as individual humans, and in 2045 as the whole human race. And many other things are tied to that. Moore's law is somewhat muted in medicine. It's muted because of regulatory forces, it's muted because of inherent conservatism in the field. So as a consequence, medicine kind of lags behind other areas of science, and you can frequently see this. Healthcare doesn't have the same financial reward system, and security always trumps information sharing. So these are some of the reasons why medicine is slow. You may know that in my day job I use a microscope. You can think of a microscope allows you to see very small things, makes them visible. You can think of another kind of fantasy instrument, the microscope, which allows you to see very big things. And that's what I hope we do in this course, is to allow you to see some of these really big trends and forces in the world that will shape the future and help to make that future better for everyone. So I welcome your suggestions of how to capture the imagination of the public, reach more people with these ideas, start everyone thinking about these matters. We need the mainstream public to regard becoming singularity as a fact, not fiction. We need to promote organized thinking about the future in universities and beyond. And think of ways to increase our reach for this one course to the world at large. And making the ideas more accessible, less of an educational barrier. Like you may know that this course is open to everybody in all faculties and does not require a medical background. Finally, if you come to our sessions in eHub, you can think of eHub as an opportunity to extend and make real your opportunities in the course. You could start a new company, become a huge economic force in the world, all because of things that you started to do here. Okay, so that is the last slide. Any questions, practical questions about the course, or speculative questions?